Hello everyone! So if you've been going after all of the achievements in Resleriana Red White and been struggling with a specific one for 100,000 damage, I am here to help. Not only am I going to tell you the easiest way to get that much damage in a single hit, but also how to get infinite damage. And it's really quite simple. So the main thing you're going to need to do this strategy is ice cream, actually. So ice cream is an incredibly strong, incredibly broken item in this game, and it's all you need to get to, honestly, infinite damage. It's just really, really good. You can see here that at level 120 it has an effect where it buffs an ally and increases their critical damage by 50%. Now, this buff only lasts 2 turns, so you might be thinking, well, like, that's not very good, right? But here's the thing, it stacks infinitely, and if you throw it onto someone in the back row, then the buff timer never ticks down. So you can just keep throwing it forever and ever and ever and ever, as long as you don't run out of item uses. It is very, very incredibly good. And that's really all you need to know to get infinite damage in this game. But I'm going to show you the easiest way to get a high amount of base damage, to stack it up and do it very quickly. And in my opinion, that is with the Sun and Moon rings on Rias and Slade. So these items combine to create kind of like an ultimate item mix, and it's really powerful. You can see here I have Sun and Moon rings equipped, and they're kind of mediocre. They're just enhanced to max level with like a single trait on them from enhancement as well, nothing fancy. They have a power of 500, they're pretty weak. As well, the gear I have here on Rias is pretty simple also, just a bunch of level 120 enhanced gear. Good bases, Azure Cage is crit damage and skill power, White Order is skill power, Spirit Beast Tail is once again crit damage and skill power, and the Dark Abyss Pearl is item mix power, and the only traits on these as well are just traits I got from item enhancement. You can obviously make gear way better than this, and getting the damage will be a lot easier. One thing you might be wondering, if we're throwing items, why am I going after skill power on my gear? That is because item mix is actually a skill when it's used, so skill power does affect it. It's very, very, very strong to have skill power on your gear boosting that damage, so that is all you really need. Now, if you do want to know how to make these level 120 items, it's really quite simple if you haven't made them before. All you really need to do is go to the item itself, just sort by item level when making it, and you don't even need to link anything. In fact, the game sorts kind of weirdly. You can get higher item levels sometimes if you don't pick the things the game has like auto-sorted to the top for you, because it sorts the matching colors first and then all the non-matching colors. So I'm just going to pick the highest item level stuff, then sort by item level here. There's some random like high item level things in here. You can also use catalysts if you have like, you know, like really good materials in another category or whatever that are high item level, but you don't have them for like beehives. Like I have these black holes that are 99 or whatever, just throw them in there. And that should be about good. And as well, if you don't have enough materials to do it all in one go, like this, you can get a high enough item level through morphing as well. Recipe morphing, because it lets you add more materials. So if you were to like start at honey and then morph to the ice cream, you can get it to higher level. And then you just come here, you enhance it, and you want to select the Geist Core Blue, which will raise the level of everyone. And you just pick the highest levels you have, and voila. This is level 119, but it's close enough. It has the 50% crit damage, so very, very easy to get a max level item in this game. Just farm some end game stuff for high level materials, make some high level items. It's pretty straightforward. Traits are a little bit harder, but we don't need traits for this strat. So now that, you know, we have everything made and equipped, I'm just going to go show off how I do this real quick. My party composition is very straightforward. It's just Totri in the front alone and Rias and Slade in the backline. You do want your character in the front line alone. If you have multiple characters in the front line, as you throw more ice creams, you'll build the Unite gauge, and then the Unite attacks will trigger and they will kill the enemy. So you do need only one character in the front line, so you have to remove the others. Now I just come here to these Poonies and the Forgotten Ruins. They're just nice and convenient. Kill one of them. And we just go ahead and throw the items onto Rias. So something that's kind of interesting about the item mix is that it always uses Rias's stats, not Slade's. It doesn't matter which order you like throw the items in or anything. It just uses Rias's stats. I don't know why. So you want to make sure that you throw the ice creams on Rias. And with my current setup, I need about like 15 or so stacks of the buff. So it doesn't take too long. If you do make much better gear, especially better bombs with a higher power than 500, this process will go a lot faster. You will need a lot fewer ice creams. But for this like bare minimum setup that I'm showing off, it's pretty nice. And you can really do this with anything. You don't need to do the sun and moon rings. I just like them because I think they're the fastest and easiest. They have really, really high base damage on the item mix, so. But you can do it with anything. In fact, there is like a damage cap in this game of 10 million, and that is like per line of damage that you deal, so this single hit will have a damage cap of 10 million if you were to throw ice creams for like hours, right? But some other attacks that do like damage like 3 times, you can do 30 million with those. So if you really want to do like really high damage, you'll use something like Wilbel's Phantom Sword, which is really good. Anyways, we've thrown all the ice creams now, and you can see that the buffs are in fact here on Rias. It takes a while to scroll through them, but they have all stacked up. And we're just going to do a multi-action. And I'm going to use a Poonie Whip that I also have made for Toturi. It's an item that will stun, and I also have Memory's Timber on it as a trait, which comes from the music box from Corneria's orders at the Star Landing. And it just puts the enemy to sleep. Sleep is like a 50% damage increase, stun is like a 50% damage increase, so this is just a nice item to throw. Then we go and select our Sun Ring and our Moon Ring, and they will mix and do a big flashy animation, and just a pretty easy 100,000 damage if we did everything correctly, or very close to it. There we go, 112. Very, very, very cool. And, of course, you know, I did just get the achievement, but I didn't stop there. I did take it quite a bit further to min-max the damage, so let's go look at that as well, because I think it's quite interesting. So I do already have all of the gear made. First thing is going to be the Sun and Moon Rings I have on Rias and Slade are a lot better. I have this one here with 5,000 power as opposed to the 500 we had before. It has triple Final One Plus, which increases the item's power and recovery power by max use count times 25%. And that's a lot. Each of these is giving like 300% item power or something. I don't remember exactly how much uses it has because it gets sent to 1, but they do all stack and it's very, very good. And Slade's is much the same, except 4,200 because his is a little bit worse. You can't get as many uses on it due to the ingredients required. I also have some pretty crazy gear made for them. We have an Azure Cage with triple Persistent Attack Fire Plus. Each of these adds an additional 60 power fire damage when attacking, which what that means is basically an extra line of damage that is 60% of the line of damage it's coming from. So if you hit for 100,000 damage, the persistent attack will do 60,000 damage, and each of these stacks, so you'll have 280,000 damage total. If your initial it's like 100,000 damage, right? So this is very, very good. White Order actually can't get any traits that are useful for damage, so it's just going to stay like this. And then we have the Spirit Beast Tail is going to have triple Proficient Link on it, which boosts skill power by 30% upon performing a multi-action. that is going to be our best damage trait on the accessory. And then for the Star Pearl, I'm going to have Perfect Skills Plus ×3, and this is 60% skill power. So very, very good. This item's giving like 200% total skill power. Very, very strong item there. And then I said earlier that Slade's gear doesn't really matter because it takes Rias's stats. There is one exception to that. The accessory matters because for whatever reason, the Proficient Link trait actually applies. I suppose because it applies to the multi-action, it gets dragged in. So even if the rest of the Slade's gear doesn't affect the damage, this will because of these multi-action traits. So that's very interesting. So make sure to have this on Slade. It can just be a copy of Rias's accessory. And you can see here that Slade's item is, it has this little like power down symbol on it because he doesn't have enough dex. It doesn't matter because the power is pulling from Rias's item. I tested it multiple times, like nothing changes, even if he doesn't have enough dex, so you don't really need to worry about that. And then on Totori, you might be wondering how I actually do infinite damage because don't items have limited uses, right? Like I only have 20 uses here through these ice creams. So there's two things here. First off, Totori has a skill called Duplicate. We can see it here. And this will let you use an item without lowering its use count. And it costs some AP. You can get this basically to almost 0 AP through AP reduction on items, but I actually don't even recommend using Duplicate. It's just an option as a nice backup. The main thing we have to preserve item uses is this Azure Bone Pearl, which has a 50% chance to restore one item use upon performing a precision guard. And this item is completely broken. In my opinion, it's like the strongest item in the entire game. And how it works is when you precision guard, it's not just one item use to one item, it's one item use to every item. So as long as you're consistently precision guarding against the Puni, you will just be consistently getting uses back, especially if you're spreading out as you use them, like you use this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one. And mathematically, you'll average, like, you know, you'll get more uses back than you actually use, and you'll just sustain them forever. And if you're ever about to run out, you can just duplicate for a little bit. So very, very nice. You can just go forever. It's pretty cool. And yeah, ice cream is really, 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 really good. Now there are a couple things about the setup. I'm not going to go too in depth on how to synthesize all of the stuff, but I will talk about these plus traits because you might not know where to get these. And these come from meta traits. And meta traits are basically, they are character talents. So you can see here under talents in the guide, there are character talents that blend with certain other traits to turn them into even more powerful traits. So these are called meta traits. And you have to combine these with other traits to make the plus versions of the traits. So specifically for Final One Plus, it is Force Use with Guardian's Pride, and I'll show how that works real quick. So you want to take a bomb with Force Use, and we're going to enhance it. You do want to make sure Force Use is the only trait you have on the bomb. And then we're going to select this Geist Core Green. It's very important that you use the green one because it improves the trait to the plus trait when you add the meta trait. And then Slade is left side yellow. So we're just going to add something with a right side yellow so that we can link him. And as soon as I select Slade here, you can see that the trait on the left has upgraded to Final One Plus. And we just finish that out. Make sure you don't transfer, and it doesn't matter if you transfer another trait over, but we'll just leave one trait on. And we now have a bomb with Final One Plus. And you don't need to get this on the same item 3 times during enhancement. In fact, you can't because you can only upgrade one trait at a time. But what you can do is bomb catalysts do exist in the game. So you can just make an item and then use the bomb catalyst and transfer the trait normally. And just stack it up that way by doing normal synthesis. And then the other traits we have, the Persistent Attack Fire Plus. That comes from mixing Barrage Attack with, I believe, Rias's meta trait. And the Perfect Skills Plus comes from mixing Skill Supercharge with one of the Fairy meta traits. So when you get a Fairy, let me see if I can find it here. I don't know that I can. I thought I'd be able to, but I didn't actually set this one up beforehand, which is my bad. Oh, here we go. When you get a fairy in the wild, sometimes they can have certain meta traits on them. So I have here Fairy Unity, Fairy Boon. There's also Fairy Tuning as well, I believe. And this one was... looks like it is Fairy Unity to make Perfect Skills Plus. Now, unfortunately, you can't get Perfect Skills Plus 3 times on a weapon, but because you can use Star Pearls in Synthesis, you actually can get it 3 times on a Star Pearl. So you just make sure it's the top trait on a Star Pearl, and then you can duplicate that a few times and synthesize a Star Pearl with the Perfect Skills Plus. And yeah, that's about all there is to the setup. Let's go test it out. And you'll be able to see that the setup is incredibly powerful. I'm just going to send it without the ice cream, so you can see how much of an improvement it is. So here we go, just multi-action right off the bat. Penny Whip, Sun Ring, Moon Ring, and go. And it should be about 1.3 million damage, if I put my gear on right. Yep. Just a whole ton of damage, so. You don't even need the ice cream, but the ice cream is a lot less effort, for sure. And yeah, that's about it. If you want to see me throwing ice cream for 10 minutes to hit max damage with that setup, I will link a video in the description of that. It does about 28 million damage in one hit. And if you want to go for even more insane numbers, Wilbell's Phantom Sword is definitely the way to go. But because it's much harder to increase the damage of attacks in this game than it is item mix, you'll probably be stacking ice cream for quite a long time. Anyways, I hope this video helped, and if it did, please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.